Hello and welcome. My name is Tavishima Ayede. I solve sales and marketing challenges, and I'm making today's recording at my home, so expect to hear some interruptions in the background. Now, the goal of this podcast is to talk about business education, so please spread the word so that your friends and family members in Nigeria and abroad can benefit from the questions that we tackle. They can do that by subscribing on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, or any player of their choice. And if you'd love to connect with me, you can call, SMS, or WhatsApp me on 080-6466-2140. Now, today on the podcast, we're going to be sharing a whole bunch of stuff. It's basically a meeting summary that I had with a sales team for one of my clients. It's a three-man team, or a three-person team, because it's two guys and one lady. And we discussed a bunch of things there, and I figured let me just come here, share a summary of the stuff that we spoke about, so that you listeners listening right now, you'll be able to learn a thing or two, maybe might find something of value. Then, apart from that, I'm also leaving this podcast episode up. I'm going to share the link with the team later on, with the three of them, Rudolph, Elsie, and Sheung. So just in case you guys come across this episode, of course, well, you will, because I'll send you the link. This is also meant to be an audio summary of all the things that we spoke about today, so that you guys can listen in the future and remember what we spoke about and, where our head was at and where we're heading to. So, the sales team, now they're involved in solar sales, alternative, what's it called again? Alternative energy. Gosh, I can't remember the big name, but basically they do solar. So solar, inverters, what else? Energy as an industry, all those sorts of stuff. So that's what they do, basically. And at the beginning of our engagement, I spoke with the team, and Rudolph, who I like to regard as the class captain. That's because this is my second engagement with them. So since he's the oldest and most experienced, he's the class captain. So in my conversation with the class captain now, we agreed, or rather, I tried to get a sense of where they're at, because, whenever an Oga calls me into an organization to run sales training or to do coaching, there's always what it is that Oga has at the back of his mind or at the back of her mind, that this is where we are, this is what we need to achieve. I also like to speak to the sales team to get a sense of, look, this is what Oga has told me. Now, you guys, like, what do you feel? Like, you rate yourself. Where are you right now? Or where do you think we need to? Where do you think we need to be? By the time we're done with this engagement, where would you like to see yourself? All these sorts of things. And the class captain, Rudolph, and his colleagues, Elsie and Sheung, they agree that we seem to be going through this yearly thing every year around this time. We're trying to, we're wondering, like, how are we going to pick things up? How are we going to close out more sales? So we need to solve this problem once and for all. And we need to make sure that we come up with a system that works. So basically, the key focus for the team, as they see it themselves, the key focus is we just need to close more deals. That's where the sales team, that's where they think they're at. So regardless of what me and your guys have discussed, the sales team, they say, this is where we're at. And I'm glad. I'm happy. Unfortunately, it takes a while before salespeople realize that, we can't keep carrying on like this. I've sold in the financial services space. My sister used to sell in a bank. In fact, she used to call her own meeting weekly abuse meeting. That the sales manager would just call all of them and abuse all of them, basically. So, unfortunately, it takes a while. But eventually, we have to wake up to that point that we can't keep going on like this. Things have to change. And so one of the things that we discussed in the meeting is this. If things are going to change, and if we're going to close more deals, unfortunately, there's one basic truth that we can't run away from. We need to dedicate more time to revenue generating activities to close more deals. Some people say RGA, Don't mind them. People just like to come up with all kinds of fancy acronyms just so they can sound more intelligent. RGA just means revenue generating activities. Now, this is the scope behind revenue generating activities. There are different kinds of functions in the business. There are different kinds of things that people do in the business. Let's talk about two or three. Number one, there is account maintenance. Account maintenance just means somebody is already a customer. Once in a while, you call the person, you say, "What's up?" That's account maintenance. Do you need anything else? How are you doing? Do you need any help? That's account maintenance. That one is basic. It's steady in business. We need to do that to drive revenues. Because eventually somebody will say, "Hey, yeah, I'm cool. But, you get this kind of problem. Like, when I do this happens, that happens." And, lo and behold, you might be able to help them and you don't make any revenue. But sometimes they might need an update or they might need to buy something else from you to be able to solve that problem. So that's account maintenance. Then there's also customer service. Customer service is when the customer is absolutely pissed and they call you to say, "What the hell? I transferred you money. Where's my goods? The good has arrived. The thing is broken. Or the thing is here. The battery is always dying." All those kinds of conversations. That's customer service. So there's account maintenance. Then there's customer service. And then there's prospecting itself. Prospecting is going to go and look for new conversations to have with people, new people to talk to who might be interested in your product or service. Now, this is one fundamental truth. If you are the head of your own business, as per you're a one-man show or you're a one-woman gang and you're the one who's running your business, this is the truth of the matter. Prospecting conversations, going to go and look for strangers to talk to who might be interested, or more, that's hard. And we can't run away from that. It is hard as hell. But then, account maintenance, talking to somebody who is already our customer, man, that one is easy. In fact, it is sweet. It is sweet to call up your customer and say, "What's up? How now? How you doing? Happy New Year. We haven't all spoken since 2025. How have you been? How are the kids? How's your staff? How's everything going? How you guys coping in this Tinubu economy? Oh, more Nigeria will not kill us. Oh, God day. You just, anything I can do to help, blah, blah, blah. Remember your boy. I'm loyal. Okay now. Well, later we'll talk." You cut the call. That is a very sweet and easy call to make. Account maintenance. Then customer service call. Customer service call. Well, it's hard, but the thing is, the customer has already called you. What will you do? Will you block them on the phone? You have to answer the call. So the truth of the matter is this. Since account maintenance calls are very sweet, and since customer service calls are very urgent, to be honest, as the owner of the business or as a salesperson, you will wake up and you will spend all your time doing account maintenance or doing customer service. Because customer service is urgent. The customer has called and the person is shouting on the phone, so you have to deal with it. Or you picked up the phone, you called the customer, the conversation was sweet, and so you continue gisting for 30 minutes. So if you do not make a proactive effort every single day to say, "You know what, I will go and call on brand new people I've never spoken to before," you will spend all your time doing what? Doing customer service calls or doing account maintenance calls. This is the problem. Customer service calls can lead to revenue. Somebody is angry, you handle it well, they're impressed, they order some more. It can. Account maintenance calls can also lead to revenue because once in a while you unearth a new problem. But the thing is, customer service calls and account maintenance calls, they rarely lead to new revenue. The one that leads to new revenue is when you go and look for new, fresh blood, fresh people to talk to who might be interested in your product or service. Also, because of one simple dynamic in business. People keep talking about sales funnel. So let's keep that imagery in mind. You have a sales funnel. Eventually, somebody becomes a customer. You now choke them inside account maintenance calls. Those are the deals that closed. Then some deals that close, they'll call you customer service, share or join, their customers, they're now within the system. But the problem is, there are some deals that we didn't close. There are some deals that we forgot, so we haven't touched up on them. And then there are some deals that the people just say, you know what, young man, I'm tired of hearing from you. Don't call me ever again. Block me. And in fact, maybe they block you. Now, if we spend all our time in account maintenance, or if we spend all our time in customer service, where are the other calls going to come from that will be entering the funnel? This is what happens when generally it looks like we're busy, because there's people in the funnel. But then we're not looking for new people to talk to. We're only doing customer service calls. We're only doing account maintenance calls. And then one day you wake up in March and you're like, this phone did not ring at all. This is like March 15. This phone has not rung. What is happening? The economy must be slow. No, it's not that the economy is slow. We're talking about sales funnel, Abby. Think of it as a funnel. People poured into the funnel. You took some people, you closed some deals. Some people entered account maintenance. Some people entered customer service. But nothing else was poured into the funnel. The funnel now ran dry. That is why your phone is dry. It's not as if the economy, anything. Well, yes, the economy can help. But the thing is, you stopped doing the prospecting calls. You stopped looking for new people to talk to. That's the problem. So, Rudolph, Sheung, LC, and whoever is listening again that is in this situation, that's the reason why things slow down. Things are slowing down because we have not been looking for new people to talk to. We've not been making what we like to say net new calls. Net new just means, minus the old people that we've been talking to. Fresh blood. That's the problem. And I explained to them that, look, me and your guys, we already had a conversation. That's the reason why now we're giving you this simple target that every day, 10 net new calls. 10. Only 10. Really 10 new calls every day. Brand new. You didn't talk to these people before. You're talking to them today. Just 10. Now, some of you might say, 10. Man, that's hard. Well, yes, it might be hard if you are responsible for looking for leads in your business. But Rudolph, LC, and Sheung, they're in a good position because the company provides leads for them. In other words, what I've been trying to tell them and people in their own situation that, look, sales is hard, but your own situation actually, it's a lot easier than most people. Because I told them, like for me, my own consulting business, excuse me, I am the one who's responsible for looking for customers. So if I have a goal to talk to 10 brand new people today, it means I myself have to look for 10 brand new people. So if you look at it that sense, okay, yeah, maybe it's a little hard. But the thing is, when you are a salesperson in a business, that they feed you deals, because this company has run some advertising and then they have paid for business expos. You attend business expos, you get some leads. So if you're a salesperson and you work for that kind of organization, I know you think your life is hard, but let me be frank with you. Actually, you have the easiest job out of sales professionals because your own is just to wake up every day and call. Because the brand new, fresh blood, new people you should be talking to, somebody else is already passing it to you. All you have to do, to be frank, is wake up in the morning, bath, brush your teeth, drop the children in school. If you work in the office, go to the office. If your company says work from home, go back home, turn off the TV, no distractions. Open your email. All the leads that your guy has been sending to you, just begin the call. It's that simple. The part about brushing and, brush your teeth and then bath, I don't know why, but somehow, when you have a bath and, you smell fresh and you're all right, somehow it makes the job easier. As in, trying to do cold calls in sweaty boxers and sweaty armpits, and it's not a good vibe. But anyway, different strokes for different folks. I know some people who have no problem, like just wake up, just do rub and shine, Your mouth is still smelling, but you pick up the phone and then you call. There's some people who run business that way. It's okay. Whatever works for you. But I would recommend that. Really wake up, bath, brush, look sweet, even though you're not going anywhere. Then start calling. Now, this is part of the math that I told Rudolph, Sheung, and Elsie. And part of the math that I want to share with you guys, because really it's a numbers game. With most industries, average person will close 2%. That means average salesperson, some people say bad salesperson. I don't want to say bad. So let me just say average. Average salesperson should close 2 out of 100. If you are calling 10 net new people every day, that means you are talking to 50 a week. If you're talking to 50 a week, that means you are talking to 200 at the end of the month. Now, a bad salesperson or an average salesperson is closing 2 out of 100. So in other words, assuming you have never taken any kind of sales training in your life, if you're doing 200 a month, at the end of the sales cycle, you should be closing 4 deals. Hope you guys can see how simple the math is. So you're an average person, you've never taken sales training, you don't know any tips, you don't know any tricks, you're just counting on vibes and inshallah. If you call 200 people at the end of your sales cycle, you should be closing 4. And I told them it's that simple. So that is the focus. Now, for those of you who have to look for deals for yourself, no problem. We'll talk about that in separate episodes. But for those of you that your guy has already run Instagram ad, your madam has paid for leads from Google, or the associates have registered the business for a business expo, and all you have to do is just show up at the booth. Look, it's just a numbers game. If you can do 10 net new calls every single day, you will be all right. If you do 10 net new calls every day, and this is where I struggle with people, because see, the thing is, it doesn't have to be my own material, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I know that. I don't blend with everybody. I don't jive with everybody. But I keep telling people, look for something that works for you. You don't like the sound of my voice? No problem. There are lots of things available on the internet, podcasts, YouTube. Look for somebody you like and then start to listen. So if you attend the training that Yoga and Madam are organizing for you, you're doing your 10 net new calls every day, and you have this other thing that you're listening to every day while you're stuck in traffic because they're in Lagos. Elsie, Rudolph, and Sheung, they're based in Lagos. So while you're stuck in traffic every day, you're listening to this sales podcast, you're listening to this sales book, you're listening to this marketing book, you're doing that kind of self-improvement every single day. That is how you will go from closing 2 out of 200 to 4 out of 200 to 12. And before you know it, one day you might be closing 50 out of 200 or 80. Or who knows, you might even be closing half. Closing 100 out of 200. The goal is always to increase on our conversions. Now, this is one thing that people don't realize. Whenever you increase your conversions small, the output on the other end actually is quite big. This is how I explained it back in my wedding photography days. If you get a wedding photography client, back then, you finish doing everything. You pay for the book, you pay all the second shooter, you pay everybody that worked on the project. You're able to put like 200K in your pocket. That's just from one deal. If you get 2 a month, that's life-changing, at least back then. Because 2 a month means that by the time you're done with the 2 weddings, you now have 400 in your pocket. But meanwhile, your conversions just went up small. Maybe you talk to 20 people every month, you close 1. You go to closing 2 people out of 20. In mathematics, it looks like it's small, Abi. The difference between 1 out of 20 and 2 out of 20 is small, Abi. But the effect on your pocket is big. If you have a fixed salary, the effect within the organization will be big, because your guy will see you and be like, no, this guy, or no, this babe. This is a star asset on the team. They rate you different. They treat you different. And it leads to more opportunities within the organization. So trust me, if you go from closing 4 out of 200 to closing 5 or 6 out of 200, it looks like it's small. The impact in your pocket will be big, or the impact within your organization will be big. So, excuse me. So, that was the first thing that we discussed. Your daily target, 10 net new calls. And then we're only going to count people who pick up the phone. You dial somebody, they didn't answer, you send text message. That is not net new conversation. Those people now go into lead management or contact management. These people did not answer, so I have to try again. But that's not 10 net new conversations. So that's the first thing that I want you guys to learn that we spoke about with the sales team. So it's the same for your business too. Just know we can't wake up every day and be handling the easy phone calls, which is account maintenance, or the urgent phone calls, which is customer service. We need to be proactive. And what I recommended to them was this. Just block out 9 to 12 every day. 9 to 12 is 3 hours. 3 hours to do 10 net new conversations, especially when people are giving you leads. It is doable and will make your life a lot easier. But yes, it is harder because account maintenance conversations are sweet because the customer is our customer. They are our friends. It will be a sweet convo. Anytime an old client calls me, we just want to catch up. They're just in Abuja. Let's see, let's go and have coffee, let's hang out. Those conversations are very, very sweet, but they don't always lead to new business. And then let me not overstress it. So next thing now is Sheung is a new member of the team, and so he's been facing some objections. Now, an objection is any reason that somebody gives for not wanting to continue the conversation, for not wanting to buy, for not wanting to explore the agenda, for not wanting to take the meeting, for not wanting to take the next step, for not wanting to whatever it is that they tell you, that is an objection. So Sheung has been facing 2 of these objections. Number 1, Sheung is saying that people will say, I'm busy, call me back. And then another one is that people ask for a price on the first call. They say, look, young man, I am busy. Will you stop wasting my time? How much is this solar panel? So those are the objections that he has been having. That people don't want to get involved in the conversation. They don't want to answer a question. It's all right. That's not a problem. In fact, I told him it is quite normal. No matter where you are in the world, it is normal. In America, in the UK, in Nigeria, people just want to know how much is this thing? This land you're selling, how much? This TV you're selling, how much? This solar panel, how much? This phone, how much? So it's a normal thing. We have to be prepared for it since it's normal. In other words, we need to think of these things and get the appropriate response or how we're going to deal with it before the thing happens. If you're a salesperson, waiting until you have jammed the thing to try and figure out the problem is not very good because this is what happens. You stammer, you start to talk off point, you start to talk round and round, and you're making the situation worse. Somebody has already told you, young man, I am busy, give me the quote. And then you're talking from here to there. It's not really making sense. You're making things worse. So let's try and figure out how to deal with these things before it happens. I'm busy. Call me back. You'll meet other sales trainers who will give you tactics to keep people on the phone so that they can talk some more. If that's your style, go ahead, do that. It's all right. But I don't teach that. This is what I teach. I teach that we lean into the objections. So if somebody says, I'm busy, lean in. Say, oh, yeah, so I understand. I appreciate that you're quite busy. That's not a problem. I'll call you back. We have leaned in. We have agreed. Let the person calm down first. Let them see that, recognize that they're a reasonable human being. Then the next step is you propose a time or you ask them to propose a time. It's that simple. Now, Sheung was not comfortable with proposing a time because he thinks that will be too aggressive. Actually, it's not. But we'll talk about that in another podcast episode. So I said, okay, in that case, Sheung, if you think that that's too aggressive, then what you do is you just let them propose a time. So, young man, I'm busy, call me back. Oh, that's not a problem, sir. I can appreciate that you're very busy, and I'll call you back. When would you like me to call you back? Bam, that's it. It's as simple as that. They propose a time, you try and narrow it down so you know when they hit fall, and then you'll be fine. Person says, call me like that kind Wednesday, Thursday. So, okay, no problem, sir. But are you a morning kind of person or is it afternoon? I'll be evening. Well, okay, like around that kind of evening time. Okay, sir, so if I call you anytime after 3, that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. And then they cut the call. No problem. You now know that you can call Wednesday or Thursday, and you now know that you can call after 3 p.m. And when you call, greeting, appropriate greeting, intention. I was the young man who called you on Monday regarding the solar panel advertisement that you responded to, blah, blah, blah. You asked for me to call you back. That this would be a better time to talk. And, so that's why I'm calling you back. So, you take it from there. But by the way, it also is not a problem. I know some of you think it's aggressive. It's not a problem to say, oh, sir, I understand. I appreciate that you're very busy. That's no problem. Sure, I can call you back. I'm available for tomorrow between 8 to 11. Does that work for you, sir? You can say that respectfully and it's not a problem. But for those of you who think it's too aggressive, no problem. You don't have to try that. So you ask them when they're going to be available. And that's how you deal with, I'm busy, call me back. By the way, if somebody at this stage is really, pussyfooting over the whole issue, it's possible that they're not really interested. But at least now you know. Rather than somebody says, I'm busy, call me back, and you say, okay, sir, I'll call you back. Then you cut the call. Man, that's the worst thing you can do. You will just be following up for following up's sake in perpetuity. Then, this whole thing of people asking for a price on the first call is normal. And I told Sharon that, look, it's normal. Everybody goes through it. As a baby lawyer, I used to face it. In wedding photography, I used to face it. In export, I used to face it. In consulting, I still face it. If I become a politician tomorrow, okay, no, politicians, do we discuss price? Well, anyway, politicians discuss money too. So even as a politician, I will still face it. So this is what you do, or this is one of the strategies, one of the tactics rather, that I told you. So first of all, you lean in. People need to know that they're being reasonable. You lean in and you acknowledge. Then you give them a range. You throw out some figures. But then you need to ask for permission to ask them questions so you can give an accurate quote. So, back in the export days, when somebody would call and say, how much for 20 tons of charcoal? And it looks like they're insisting. The approach is simple. Oh, sir, I would love to give you a quote right now for 20 tons of charcoal. Always looking for new customers. However, I can't do that now because there are lots of factors that go into this thing. I need to know a couple of things like which port is closest to you, the quality of the charcoal that you need, whether you want expedited delivery, and what trading terms you prefer, whether you want it to be free on board or whether you want it to be cost, insurance, and freight. So, sir, before I give you the quote, I really have to ask you a couple of questions so I can give you an exact quote. So the one I quote for you, 2 tons of charcoal, 20 tons of sesame, 50 tons of shea butter, the price would be, it's a price you can rely on. So are you okay with me asking you a couple of questions? The person says, oh no, I'm busy. What did I say? You say, oh, that's no problem. I appreciate that you're busy, sir. I can call you back. I'm available tomorrow between 10 and 12. What time works for you? Or you go the Sheung route. Oh, that's not a problem, sir. I appreciate that you're very busy. So, when would you like me to call you back, sir? It's that simple. So, that's one way of getting around this whole price thing. Lean in, acknowledge, where you can, give a range. So for wedding photography, for import and export, it's hard to give a range because it's too wide. You can't really give a range because the cost of sending 20 tons of shea butter to Cyprus will depend on where in Cyprus, and or sending it to America will depend on where they are in America, and then on what trading terms. So the cost, FOB, yeah, free on board, will be different from CIF, cost, insurance, and freight. And, of course, there are other trading terms. But for my brother and I, when we were still in that business, those were the two trading terms that we dealt with the most. So for ones that you can give a range, like in wedding photography, for instance, I would always give a range. I'll say, oh, sir, it can cost anything between X and Y, depending on what it is that you need. Either way, I have to ask you a couple of questions. Now, there was one man, and I told Shenwa about this, who was really, really insistent that, look, young man, I am busy. Can you just give me a price, please? And I told him, sir, I would really love to give you a price. But the thing is, I can't give you a reliable quote now. I do not know where this wedding is going to be. I do not know what kind of venue. I don't know the size of the team that I need to put together. I don't even know the kind of book you want. Do you want a normal size, a small size, or do you want the grandest size possible? I don't even know if you want 3 or 4 books. One for the couple, one for you, one for madame, and maybe one for your in-laws. Do you want frames? I have no idea. So, sir, really, we need to have a conversation. I'll get all these details and I'll give you one quote, and one is one. All the information that you need is there. So, sir, if you're busy now, is it okay for us to set up a time where we can talk and get this handled? And the guy calmed down. And that is what we did. By the way, I didn't get the deal. It's not as if you follow all this approach, you will get the deal every time. But I hope you guys are seeing how this thing works. Then I was able to give a range. And so it's the same thing with solar panels. And that's what I told Sheung with solar systems. So, sir, I would love to give you a quote. But to be honest, our systems could cost anything between 20 million and 5 million. And it depends on a number of factors. Where you are, where you live, how big is your house, what are you trying to power, do you have generator or not, whatever it is that are the important factors that you have to ask as a solar salesperson. But that's what I tell the person, sir, this thing can cost anything between 20 million to 5 million, depending on where you live, the size of the house, what you're trying to power, and things like that. So, sir, I really need to ask you a question before I can give you a quote that will be accurate for you, that you can rely on. So, can I ask you a couple of questions, sir? Can I ask you a couple of questions, ma? That's the approach. Now, Sheung didn't seem too okay with that. And I understand, because some of you might think my way is too forceful. I get it. But the thing is, don't use my exact words, but look at the philosophy. You acknowledge that this person needs a price and it's a reasonable request. You let the person know, this is the reason why I can't give you this price, because of these unforeseen factors. Can you help me answer a couple of questions? And I'll be able to give you all the information that you need. It's that simple. So I now told him about how my former business partner, Shegun, who used to handle the video aspect, how Shegun used to handle it. Shegun will say something like, mommy, I can't come and tell you that is 10 million. And then at the end of the day, it's now 15. Because that one is me that will suffer. Also, mommy, I can't tell you that it is 10. Then meanwhile, at the end of the day, it's only like 3 we need. So, mommy, to be honest, let me just come to the office. Let's discuss. Let me understand the parameters of this documentary that you want us to shoot. Then I'll be able to give you an exact quote that you can rely on. And so, mommy, when are you free? Let me come to the office. So that's how Shegun used to solve it. But you can see that the principle is the same. So that's how you handle, I'm busy, call me back. And that's also how you handle people who insist on getting a price on the first call. By the way, there are other sales trainers, other business development coaches, other people in this space. And like I said, you don't like the way I sound, you don't like what I say, you think I'm too formal, go and search. There are plenty. Find the person that you like, and then every day when you're stuck in traffic, listen. Or while you're driving, connect on Bluetooth speakers in your car and then listen. For those of you who are married, if your spouse is in the car, don't do that. It will be awkward. Talk to your spouse. But eventually you have some free driving time. And then listen. The more you listen to these things, the more you internalize it, the more effective you become. And the more, remember what we said in the beginning, your closing will start to improve. You start going from 4 out of 200 to closing 6 out of 200 to closing 20 to closing 25 to closing 50. And as you do that, the quality of your life will start to improve. Then we also discussed lead management systems or contact management systems or customer relationship management tools or whatever it is that you want to call it. But either way, there has to be something that we're using to track how many calls did I call today? The people that I spoke to, who am I supposed to call back? When am I supposed to call them back? Am I supposed to send a message? Are they waiting for an email? Are they waiting for a proposal? We need to find some tool of doing this. So Shen was talking about how he forgets. And I told him that, look, man, you will forget. Standard. As a baby lawyer, it happens to all of us. You go during the week, you speak to, your guy will send you to some people's house, you speak to 3 or 4 people, but then you didn't write anything down. And then you wake up on Friday, and then your guy says, Tavishima, come into the office. You say, yes, sir. He says, sit down. You sit down. He now says, okay, so for Madam Ogedengbe's case, where are we? What are we supposed to do? You now start saying, sir. Of course you will forget because you didn't write it down. So please, look, I know it's boring as hell, but see, I don't know how else to explain it. You didn't write it down, you will forget. Things will fall through the cracks, always. So what you do is immediately after the interaction, you make your notes and you schedule your things immediately after. So back in the days of baby lawyer, once you're leaving Madam Ogedengbe's office and you enter inside the car, you wind down the window, you bring out your office diary, and then you write it down. Meeting, Madam Ogedengbe, office, 12 p.m., discussion, issue 1, 2, 3, 4, resolution, way forward, doing this, that, next court date, this. You write everything down in your diary. Then when you get back to the office, lawyers, I'm not sure how people run things nowadays, but because what I'm saying is really, anyway, not too old, but it's not as if, well, yeah, people have computers and laptops, but it's not as if this technology was that common. I mean, when I got my first mobile phone, I think I was already in like year 4 or so. I was already quarter to graduate. So, where was I? I can't remember. So when you get back to the main office now, you now take all those details and then you now put them in the master diary of the firm so that the head of chambers, can see all this information. So that way, when your organ now says on Friday morning, Tavishima, where are you? I say, I'm here, sir. Come and sit down. You say, yes, sir. Mrs. Ogedengbe, where are we? You just open your diary and say, okay, sir, one moment, and then you flip. So we met Mrs. Ogedengbe on so, and this is what we discussed. She wants us to do this, but sir, my own professional opinion, I think that. What do you think, sir? He will talk his own. You say, okay, sir. What we agreed next is this is the next thing we're supposed to do. Mrs. Ogedengbe is supposed to give us this, or we were supposed to do this for Miss Ogedengbe. See, fruitful conversation. You now know where you are and what you're supposed to do next. So it's the same thing. As soon as you finish your conversation with somebody, they might be interested, they might not be interested. This is the amount of deep freezers they have. This is the amount of reads they have. This is the amount of this, that. Enter it in your notes immediately. I spoke to Mr. Okpobolo. Okpobolo wants to power 4 deep freezers because he runs a chicken cutting business from his residence. Apart from that, they have 4 ACs and they have 2 TVs and let's see what else. You put everything down like that, but of course, don't write it in grammar. So bullet points. Mr. Okpobolo, phone call, 3 p.m., 12 deep freezers, 2 TVs, 4 AC, something, next step, engineers, engineer site assessment. You put it there. Then you now schedule the reminder. If Mr. Bobolo said somebody will be at home next week Friday, set the reminder now, or else you will forget. And Mr. Bobolo too will forget. And that is how deals fall through the cracks. Set the reminder now so that on Thursday, your phone will ping and you will now see that, oh, meeting with Mr. Bobolo tomorrow. You will now call Mr. Bobolo. Mr. Bobolo, it's me, the young man that called last week. Sure, you haven't forgotten, no. It's tomorrow our engineer is going to come. Say, oh, thank you for reminding me. I forgot. No problem. I'll tell Abosede. Abosede will be around. And that's how you keep things moving. And this is why I explained to the sales team. Some of you don't realize it, but this is what happens. When you don't have a lead management system, this is what happens. It's sad, but this is what happens. You call somebody, you have the discussion. This thing is now top of mind. Mr. Bobolo now knows that, look, this solar thing is serious. I have to get it done, and the budget might be anything between this and that. You forget to call. You will fall through the cracks. The next person that calls will now have a layup. The person will have a smooth sailing because it is now top of mind for Mr. Bobolo. And that's how the next person who calls will close the deal. And it happens all the time. I suffered it plenty. I call the bride, we talk, we're all good. It looks like everything is all good. And then I forget. By the time I call, I say, oh, we went with so and so. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, I thought we were friends. Like, when you were ready, why didn't you just call me up? Let's get this thing done. But it happens. I just laid it up for the next guy. The next person will come and walk in smooth and collect your deal. So we need these things. Lead management system, contact management system, customer relationship management, whatever it is. So if it is how I used to do it as a baby lawyer with Office Diary, use Office Diary and check your diary every day to know where you are, what you need to do next. If you don't want to do diary, you don't want to do CRM tools, but you have Google Calendar, then you have an Android phone, then use your Android phone. Write it. Open Google Calendar, today's date, and then put it there. Meeting, Mr. Bobolo, 3 p.m. Put all the details there. You now schedule the reminder. When it's time for the next action, your phone will do zip, zip. You will see it, and then you will get on the next thing, and the deal will not fall through the cracks. So we'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff, like Rudolph, Elsie, Sheung. I'm sure you guys remember there's lots of things we spoke about. But if nothing else, these are the main things I want you people to understand. Excuse me. So yeah, everybody is frustrated. We want to make progress. We're not going to make progress unless we start focusing on revenue generating activities that bring money. The ones that bring money is when we go and look for fresh blood to talk to. Oga is already paying for fresh blood to come into the company through Google advertisements and Facebook advertisements and Instagram advertisements. All you have to do every day is just wake up, brush, bath, drop the kids in school, and then go to the office. Or come back home, turn off the TV. Soak Gary first, eat custard, do bread and egg or something. But shall I eat something? And then 9 to 12, just call. Except if Momsy calls you, it might be an emergency. You answer Momsy. And then you say, oh, Mommy, you know what? I'll get to that later. And then you continue. You call. Then, let's see. What else? Okay, sales objections. Don't wait until somebody objects. Figure some of these things out ahead of time. The way you do that is by listening to my podcast or going on YouTube and looking for other podcasters who you like the way they sound, you like the way they look, you like the way they behave, and you try to figure out how is it that they deal with these things. And then you practice on your own or practice with someone so that when these things come up, you have a response. But, I'm busy, call me back. That one happens all the time. You need to have an answer. Somebody wants a price now. That one is normal. You should have an answer. Somebody says you're too expensive. That one is normal. You should have an answer. For these things, you should have some basic responses ready. Or a basic philosophy. A basic understanding about how you're going to deal with these situations. And then lead management or contact management. Use something. Post-it note. Use it. Diary. Use it. Google Calendar, use it. Apple Calendar, use it. CRM tool, use it. But we need it. If you're a carpenter who is only doing 2 or 3 deals a month, okay, no problem. Maybe you don't need it. But for anybody else, you sell solar, you need it. You're a lawyer, you need it. You're a wedding photographer, you need it. You're a tailor, you need it. I mean, should I keep going? Whatever you do, you need it. Except for carpenters. Carpenter will be fine. Okay, for a bricklayer, you don't need it. But anybody else, you need something. So, it's almost an hour. That's it. And that's all. Remember, if you'd love to connect with me, you can call, SMS, or WhatsApp me on 080-6466-2140. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you next time. Same place, in your headphones or in your speakers.